Hey everybody, today we are talking about A Pho Love Story by Lone Lee. In this story, we follow a kind of Romeo and Juliet love story, only not as intense as that. So we have these two who are seniors in their high school, and they both work at their family restaurant, and their restaurants happen to be across the street from each other. So basically, the two have never really talked with each other because when they were younger, they actually met each other in a temple, and they witnessed their parents seeing each other and immediately like telling them like, oh, come here, you can't hang out with each other. And so basically ever since then, it's been like a family feud between the two because they both happen to have Vietnamese restaurants, and so they both sell a lot of the same products, a lot of the same foods and things. And so they're always trying to like one up each other. And even though the two kids, they both go to the same school, it's kind of like they've kind of seen each other around but never actually spoken to each other because there's just kind of this like unspoken rule for them that like they shouldn't talk even at school because their families are like rivals basically in their businesses. So the two main characters in this are Bao and Lin. Those two are our main characters where the chapters kind of switch back and forth between their perspectives. And really what happens is that Bao ends up getting into this class where he's starting to write for like the school newspaper, the school articles, and eventually finds his way. Some things happen where he actually ends up talking to Lin, even though he knows it's risky, but she seemed to be really stressed out one night at the restaurant and was in the back alley, and he decided to go over and be like, hey, are you okay? And so they started talking to each other. Eventually they started working together for the paper because Lin is an artist and she loves and is really good at it and is drawing the pictures to set the scene for restaurants, and Bao is writing the information about the restaurant. So they're kind of doing like restaurant reviews together, and so that kind of creates this relationship between them where they are hanging out, and you kind of have this feeling that they're probably going to be getting together in a more intimate way, but they are also very nervous about it because if anyone saw them together, people could talk and their parents could find out, and things could be troublesome because for some reason their parents hate each other, and they feel like there's more of a reason than just the fact that they both have the same type of restaurant across from each other. Like it seems like there's more history there, and they slowly start to figure that out. Slowly being the key word. It takes a really long time for these two characters to start unraveling the truth behind their family beef and why their families don't like each other. And there's also, of course, this other story with Lin where she's working really hard to do artist things, but she's kind of hiding it from her parents because she's afraid that they're not going to accept her for wanting to be an artist, and wanting her to do other things like engineering and things like that, where she just has no interest. But she's scared to tell her parents because since her parents came all the way from Vietnam and struggled to get here and have made this restaurant to be able to have a good life for her to be able to have a good life, she feels kind of guilty, like she should be doing what they want her to do because of how hard they worked to get her to be able to have her own success. But at the same time, she really wants to do art. And her aunt actually happens to be an artist, and her mother always kind of looked down on that. Like she was always worried about her sister not being able to support herself if she had a job as an artist. It just wasn't going to be enough. And so she constantly worried about her sister struggling. And so because that's how she felt with her sister, Lin was afraid to tell her mom anything about her wanting to be an artist because she just is like, oh, I know how she would react because of the way she reacts with her sister. So there's that going on as well. And that's basically all I can really say without giving too much away for, like spoilers and things. But basically, you are going to be seeing perspectives back and forth. You are going to be seeing a relationship grow between Lin and Bao, and these two are going to be obviously getting closer because of their job that they are doing together. And Bao is kind of not pressuring, but he's kind of trying to convince Lin that she should tell her parents about the amazing art that she can do and how good she is at it, and should really try to communicate that with them. And she's just really scared to do that, and she just doesn't want to be lying to her parents, but she also just, wants to conceal it because she's, just afraid of how they're going to react. And of course, there's the whole what's going to happen if their parents find out that the two of them have been talking to each other, let alone possibly starting to like each other more than just on a friend level. And so there's a lot of things that could happen there. I did think that, it was a fairly easy read, but at the same time, it felt like I wanted more to start developing quicker. I was hoping for more of their relationship than just the conflict of their families and figuring out what that conflict was. And it would have been nice to learn about that conflict a little bit sooner too, because eventually you figure out what it is that has hung up these families so long in their hatred towards each other in their restaurants. We do eventually figure out more of that story and why it is, but it's in the last 20 pages maybe. It's at the very end. And I just feel like I would have liked to figure that out a little sooner, because then there could be more room for okay, what now with these two characters? Now that they know what the conflict is, can they move past it? Will their families be okay with the two of them being friends or more than friends? And, just a little bit of the aftermath of all that stuff. We don't get a lot of that because it just happens really fast at the very end. And I think I would have liked to see their relationship a little bit more develop more than it did, because it did kind of stay in the friend zone for quite a long time before things started to kind of move on from that with the two of these characters, because of their worries about, their families and things like that. But I was just wanting a little more of it because it is called a fun love story after all. And I was just thinking the love part of that would be in the book a little bit more or longer. That said, I didn't hate the book for sure. I still really liked it. I still liked that there's a lot of dialogue in it that switches to Vietnamese. And so if you really want to get the full idea of what they're saying, then you're gonna have to look it up and translate it and stuff like that. And there are some times where you can kind of guess what they're saying, but if you want to know exactly what they're saying, she doesn't translate it right after. It just is there, and then it continues on. So it's not one of those books that's gonna hand feed what the English version of that is, like some books do. So you do have to kind of do some more work on your own to figure out all the things that the parents are saying, because it's usually them that's speaking the Vietnamese parts and things like that. It's not a ton, but it is, it's definitely in there and it's noticeable. And I think that's good too, because I like when books can, especially Asian books, where they really show you that kind of part of the culture. Their native speaking is not going to be English, and so it's good to have that in the books to really show that they have come from somewhere else and that they're not totally giving up on their person, their culture and everything, now that they're in a new country. And so I really do like that too. But anyways, if you would like I would say a mild love story, and a story that's kind of like Romeo and Juliet-ish and has to do with Vietnamese culture aspects and things like that, then you should check this book out and see what you think of it yourself. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.